We are back with the second segment of Brave Business Conversation. And here in the studio, I've got Jennifer Wilson. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, hi.
Welcome to the show. It's exciting to have you here because the business world is just waking up again, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been
And
a long
things are
time.
getting busy, busy, busy. And the first thing you forget are the books.
Definitely, definitely. You put your head in the sand, you don't want to be thinking about that. You will just want to get out there and enjoy what you enjoy doing.
Exactly. And to be fair, I mean, that's why people like you exist, right? So tell us a little bit about how you got into accountancy, why you love helping small business owners. Why do you do that?
Yeah, so basically, I did a PA course at college, and I did an accounts A level whilst I was there. And my accounts teacher thought that working in accountancy would suit me and my analytical mind, and the way that I just loved solving and helping people. And he basically got me my first job, my first training job, and I started training when I'm going to show my age now. Everything was manual, so it was all in ledger books. It was very long-winded. You were 2 or 3 years behind in accountancy. Um, and keeping people's books. Nobody ever knew where their finances were. And technology's moved on so fast that during the time that I've been working in the industry, we've gone from ledgers to spreadsheets, computers were introduced, and now we're into the digital age where digital software. And people look at it as being very scary, doing their finances and looking at everything in more detail. But the more detail that you have enables you to grow your business, see how you're doing. And I love that process. I love having systems in place and getting organised with people. So I've been in the industry for 30 years. I fell into being self-employed when I had my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And had my son straight after, so I never had to make that scary step into going into being self-employed. But I fell into that, and then I coasted along for the next 18 years, working with the same clients, and just enjoyed the actual work. I know many people find that quite strange that you enjoy accounting and
Yeah.
bookkeeping, but that's something that I had a passion for. I just loved reconciling and
Well, I
doing
think
stuff.
life is fair that way.
Yeah,
There's people who love this and then there's people who love
yeah,
that. If everybody
definitely.
loved the same thing, we'd be fighting over the same pie.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
small businesses? Why don't you continue to contribute in large businesses, for
Yeah, so
example?
basically what happened was there was a big change in my life in 2016. Both my parents got cancer, and unfortunately I lost my father. And it made me look at life a little bit differently. It made me see that I wanted to be even more adaptable. I didn't want to waste time traveling to clients when there was really no need. That I could work remotely in this new digital age. It would enable me to have a better work-life balance, but also at the same time be able to help people in detail when they needed it, whenever they needed it, and not to be able to say, oh, I can only book out this afternoon because I've got to travel 50 miles to get to you. We could pop on quickly to a Zoom. And I think that's probably one of the good things that's come out of COVID is that everyone now understands that can work. That working
Yes.
from home, working remotely, and popping in and off of Zoom and telephone calls means that they have more faith in it. So that has been good for my industry. Um,
And you
yeah.
also have a passion, particularly to help business women.
Yes.
Why? And why that focus?
I think probably what it is that women in the past have been quite scared to ask questions. They feel maybe some women feel intimidated by men, accountants and bookkeepers especially. And I want to be able to hold their hand and make them understand that it's not a scary process at all. And I want them to understand their businesses, not just the finances, but why they enjoy doing it and what they want to get from it, and how they can make that business grow. Because although you run a business to make money, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, how are you going to make money? Because you're not
Exactly.
really going to be concentrating on that. So I tend to think that maybe women are more likely to open up about their business and open up about their emotions to another woman. Um, and especially someone that runs her own business and has had probably the same issues of children growing up and how to move around and fit around children, how to work with the fact that your husband maybe has a 9 to 5 job or a job and doesn't understand what it's like for you to run a business, whereas perhaps talking to another man is maybe a bit more difficult. So that's why I enjoy working with females more.
That's good. That's good. Well, we're going to cut to a short break, and but before that, you requested this song, "Simply But the Best" by Tina Turner. Who do you want to dedicate it to, or why did you request this?
Basically, I picked this song because it was a song that when I was getting married, I went to a wedding show and the girls were dancing in the wedding dresses with it on. So every time I hear the song, it just makes me think of those happy times and the to the future and what the future might bring. And it just makes me happy.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Well, let's enjoy her song of choice, "Simply the Best."
Made locally in Bath. This is Radio Bath.
We're back with Brave Business Conversations, and I'm still here with Jennifer Wilson. She helps a lot of business women to take control over their finances, whether you want to do it yourself or you want to get her to do it. She can really help you out with the outsourcing part or training you to do it. But I think sometimes, Jennifer, people make things a little bit too complicated for themselves. Do you find that to be true?
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of misconceptions, I think, with bookkeeping and accountancy. That the fear is that it's a lot more complicated
right.
than it needs to be, and so people tend to bury their heads and I'm not going to start it. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. The way that I talk to people is that it's basically a group of lists. And if you can make a list of things, then you can begin with the basics. I mean, obviously there are more complicated areas, and that's why you need help via an accountant or a bookkeeper in some of those areas. But to start off, you can just make like lists of receipts, money coming in, lists of money going out. You could lists of things you've bought, lists of things you're willing to sell, different areas. So it's just like lots and lots of lists that then can be brought together to actually make your financial statements. Yeah, and it can be as simple as that. It doesn't need to be complicated.
Exactly. I think, when we start people off with their first financial statement, it's basically a cash in, cash out.
Yes.
Right? What's your previous month's balance? Where did it all go?
Yeah.
How did it add? What are the things that added to it? And that's basically a list. I love that because we like making lists.
Yes. Yeah.
We're good at that.
Especially women. I do love all the lists. And also another misconception is that people think that they're only doing their accounts and bookkeeping for HMRC.
Right.
To fulfill the rules and the regulations. And that isn't actually the case. Yes, we have to do that element of it. But the real reason that we're keeping our lists and keeping our records is for ourselves, so that we can actually see, is our business working? Is it profitable?
Yeah.
Is there any point in continuing? If you don't keep an accurate record and keep an eye on your business, it might not actually be working, and sometimes it can take a long time to actually realise that an area is not working. Or you could have several different areas in your business. So if you were selling particular products in a shop, for example, and you might think that every product is doing fine, but if you don't keep an accurate list of different areas, you might find that one never sells. So it's like the wasted stock area that you were talking about earlier, and that something else is always selling out. So why aren't you bringing that in and selling more of that product? So whatever your business is actually looking at your business as a whole rather than just the finances. The finances have to be done, but it's not the only reason that you've got to keep those records going.
Exactly. Yeah. And every number in your financial report is a decision, actually. Yeah. It's a decision to spend, or it's a decision to sell and get revenue from. It's a decision to contact a client that could buy from you, or it's a decision to spend money on something. And by listing, and I love, again, I'm just going to keep that going, the listing, Yeah, you really understand what all these numbers are just putting together a story of how you decided on things this month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And that's where the double entry bookkeeping comes from that you sometimes hear, and people are like, oh, that's a bit scary. And it isn't. All it basically means is that every time there's a transaction in your business, there's two movements. So if you go to buy something, your bank balance goes down, so that's one movement. And you've bought an item, so you've got an item of stock, or you've spent
Your
it on
inventory goes
postage.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a movement, and that's all that basically means. So using accountancy terminology can sometimes really scare people, and that's why when I'm trying to talk to people, I try to talk more in lay terms so that they understand what I'm trying to say, and hopefully that takes away a little bit of the fear sometimes that people hold.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I was teaching finance as well, I explained balance sheets as what I owe versus what I own,
Yeah,
and my things and stuff
yeah, yeah,
versus the money I have in the bank, and it's really simple. And actually, women should be very good at that
yeah,
because we do keep a lot of the financial records of the house. I mean, most, and I'm stereotyping here,
yeah,
but a lot of us have been tasked as that member of the family that puts things in order. So organization,
yeah,
um, setting maybe budgets or setting spending budgets, or maybe not the earning part, but the spending part. Definitely, we've got some sort of lists going up in the fridge or
yes,
something.
yeah, definitely, yeah, and just being organised as well. It is a big thing, because if you leave everything to the very last minute when you have to do something, you're always gonna. There's more likelihood that you're gonna make mistakes. You're
Yeah,
gonna miss something, and sometimes that isn't an implication that you're going to get fined or get charges from HMRC or Companies House, but it could just mean that you've forgotten to add an extra cost in that you spent, and therefore you're paying more tax than you need to be because you've forgotten to put that extra expense through your books, and it was just because you've had to do a last minute rush and you
yeah,
weren't organised or
yeah.
didn't have a system in.
I think from this segment, I've taken away that don't just do your books for somebody else or for the
Yeah,
government or whatever. Take
yeah,
a real interest in what's happening to your money.
yeah,
Okay, because we work so hard to get money. It'll
yeah,
take an interest to read that story of your money. And if anything, it's just making the record and knowing, where your money went. I mean, wouldn't it be funny if was your cash was reduced, but then there was no additional inventory or no additional asset? What
yeah.
happened?
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, hopefully you don't get staff that take stock out
Right.
and all
Or
that kind
money
of
out.
thing. Yeah, or money out. But I have come across that,
Yep.
and sometimes it can take a long time for people to find that that's been happening. So, if you have those systems in place and keep track of your finances, and it can help you grow as well. I mean, especially over the last 18 months, 2 years that we've had, during COVID, if you weren't hot on keeping a track of what was going on in your business, then you're not able to pivot, which was the new word of
Yeah.
last year, but change direction slightly in order to help yourself. So
Yeah.
it's important.
And it is interesting how when you're a business owner, especially you put that money into your business account, you don't pay yourself dividend, or maybe some of you don't pay yourself salaries because you're, oh, I need to keep it in the business. I need to keep it in the business. But actually, if you understand, and let's say your business is doing well, what tends to happen, what I see, is your business becomes your bank, which is a weird thing, right?
Yeah,
Because you're so afraid to take money out, but then yet you need money,
yeah,
and you think you don't have enough money, so you leave it in, and you realize actually when you actually properly look at your report, you have money, you can take it out, you can relax,
yeah.
you only need X amount for your operations. You don't really need to keep that whole big thing. Your business is not your bank. Your bank is
No,
your bank,
no. And also as well, it shows you when you're not making the money, and then
Exactly.
you can actually look at it in more depth. Well, why am I not making the money? Is it because I'm not networking? Am I not marketing? And am I not out there for people? Am I selling the completely wrong product for the wrong area? Is my service now outdated? It enables you to look at yourself in more depth, to
Yes.
see what you need to do to be successful. And successful in, for some people isn't all to do with the finances. But if you're not making any money, how are you going to live? So you need to make a specific amount for yourself, and also having an idea of how much you need to make in order to live is a good way for you to be able to keep track of how your business is doing at the very basic level.
Very good. Well, that was a very good start to our show. And we'll be back with more of Jennifer Wilson after this.
Made locally in Bath. This is Radio Bath.
And we're back with Brave Business Conversations. We're still in the studio with Jennifer Wilson. She is still talking about the top tips that we can learn about managing our finances better. What's the second tip you've got for small business owners?
It's being organised. I know I talked about that slightly a minute ago, but if you're not organised, as I said before, it can mean that you can't be flexible. So having a system in place is the big main thing.
What do you mean? If you're not organized, you can't be flexible. I don't see the link. That's really interesting, though.
So if you're organised in your business, it enables you to have a system in place that will enable you to be flexible with where you need to go, because you can see where your numbers are going.
You know where everything is.
You know where things are. You know where your income's coming from into the future. If you're a coach, you book things into the future. If you've got a booking system, for example. Whereas if you're not organised, you can't see that, so you can't expand or move or change anything.
I see.
So being organised helps you to be able to do that at a very basic
But
level.
what kind of organization? When you say system, that feels like a jargon to me. Like lots of people say system. And that actually, for some people, is a very scary word. Ooh, software, technology, computers.
Yeah, so having a system in place, what I mean by that is how you record your numbers and how you keep your books and how you keep your lists. Now, a lot of people probably do it on spreadsheets to begin with, so they just have different spreadsheets for income coming in, expenses going out, and that has always been quite useful if you're below the VAT registration limit and it's very basic bookkeeping and you're fairly small. So the VAT limit's like 85,000. So if your turnover is below that kind of limit, that kind of thing used to be okay to do, and that you can expand it and make your lists a lot bigger and integrate your different worksheets. So basically a spreadsheet, if people don't really understand that aspect, is just a copy of a written book. So it's just going on to a computer software doing that rather than writing in a manual book list. And then another thing is a computerized accountancy package does sound really, really scary. And a lot of people will see advertising to do with the big packages such as Sage, QuickBooks, Xero. And they're like, oh my goodness me, I can't get involved in all that. But you don't need to worry about it so much because it is very, very straightforward, the basics. And it will be just like entering, they will have like areas where you can just like follow things step by step. So setting up an accountancy package will enable you to, in the future, submit your tax returns, if you're self-employed, directly to HMRC.
It's so convenient.
It's so easy, and there won't be the form filling and having to go down in the old days where you used to have to submit it all by hand. And it sounds really worrying. It's like, oh, loads more regulations, that. But actually, the time saving that it enables you when you have a package, and accountants and bookkeepers, because a lot of it's in the cloud now, they can go in and look at it. They can train you up on it. They can help you as much as you want to be helped. They can do it all for you, and you can just go in and out and look at what your numbers look like on different reports.
Yeah.
Or you can do elements of it, and they can do elements of it. So it's really, really flexible.
It's interesting because you offer your clients two choices, right? I do it for you, or I teach you to do it. Do you have any tips? Like, let's say I'm a business owner and I've been doing my own finances. Should I keep doing it by myself, or should I outsource someone to do it? How do I make that decision typically?
I think the decision comes when you're finding that you haven't got the time to do it yourself. is it more profitable for you to be spending time in your business doing what you're good at? Because could you be earning more money, concentrating more on that area, and so give away different aspects of your business, outsourcing to different people? So accountancy tends to be a big one, the bookkeeping for people,
Yeah.
but also there's virtual assistants that can help
Yeah,
you.
social media or
There's lots of different areas that you can post out. Some people want to keep control of it all themselves, and that's fine if that's what they want to do. But there's people that are just not interested in doing it, hate doing it. It's a chore. And so if you're not interested in doing something and you hate doing it, you're not going to do it to the best of your ability. And sometimes when it comes to it, it's just easier to give it to somebody else.
Exactly. To add to that, I think if you find yourself procrastinating, what should have taken a week to do will take a month because you just haven't gotten around to it. So yes, the time factor is there. But if you say, no, I've got time, I'm going to do it myself, but I hate the thing and I just keep procrastinating, you'll just draw it out unnecessarily. So sometimes, give it to someone, they'll book and it's done, finished, packaged.
And sometimes also, because an accountant or bookkeeper are used to actually doing a bank reconciliation, for example, know where the areas are that you're going to make mistakes or forget to put a number down, that kind of thing. If you give it to them, some think that they could probably do in an hour, which is taking you like 10 hours to do.
Yeah.
It's not a good use of time.
Yeah, I know.
And I know people don't like to spend money, especially not on people doing their books, because they see that as just an outlay that they could save it by doing it themselves. But are you really saving? Because
I call it protecting my mental health.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I tried doing my VAT returns by myself, and my mental health suffered. And then I tried again the next quarter with the guidance of my accountant. So I totally believe, guys out there, outsource the thing if that's not your thing, because for me it's the other factor is flow. The other factor is flow. Like I'm making content, I'm doing my consultation things, I'm doing my networking, and then do my accounting, and it's just like a completely different flow. I'd rather give it to someone like you who that is your flow. That is your flow, making all that stuff. So great tips. I want to get back to you on more tips for the self-employed business owners on how to manage their finances, but let's enjoy a bit of music. We're still with Jennifer, and final tip, Jennifer, what other things do you think get in the way of us managing our finances?
I suppose it's basically, I mentioned it a little bit earlier on, was the time. If you have not got time to do stuff properly, then it's going to have a detrimental effect on your books. So when I say having time, is actually take a step back and look. Have I really got time to keep my records properly, to make my lists? Am I, working 60 hours a week in my business, just trying to get new customers, doing customer work? And then I've got to spend the whole weekend, doing my accounts, doing my marketing, setting up my letters, doing my website.
Okay, but what if my choice is just to hire an employee to do my books for me versus outsourcing it? What's the consideration there? Hire someone junior who kind of knows already QuickBooks and everything versus just hiring an expert like you.
The main difference between doing that is that when you employ somebody, you've employed them. So if your business if there's a fluctuation with the number of transactions that needs to go through your software, whether you're making less money one month and there's a big fluctuation throughout your year, you're still going to have to pay that employee the same amount of money every single month. Holidays, pensions, national insurance, all those extra things, and the health and well-being of your employee as well if you're a good employer. Whereas if you're outsourcing,
you take care of all that.
You can.
That's your job.
all those worries of employing somebody, but also at the same time, you can fluctuate how much you give on a monthly basis. So if your business is not having so much turnover, say in August, because you don't work in August, you decide to have August off as a holiday, then the person you're outsourcing to doesn't need to do the number of hours that they might need to do, say, in February when you're at your busiest. So that saves money.
And also, if you have only the budget to hire a junior staff, you can expect junior results.
Yes, definitely. And when it comes to bookkeeping, there is a big difference. I would say anybody can do bookkeeping once you kind of roughly know what you're doing. But to have the experience of someone that's an accountant as well as a bookkeeper, or someone that's a qualified bookkeeper, is a completely different type of work that you get from them. If you employ a junior to just enter on QuickBooks, you're basically just employing somebody that inputs data. So it's an inputter. It's not somebody that understands what's going on. And if that's what you need, you just need somebody to chuck the information in for you and then outsource to an accountant or bookkeeper to finish the end bit off, then that's fine if that's what you require. Because sometimes you get people that are employed not just doing the inputting, but maybe doing a bit of PA servicing for them as well, so that their actual services are a little bit more than just the bookkeeping. But as I said, it's more financially efficient, I would say, to outsource, unless of course you become huge. And you need internal.
Of course, but you do, when they become huge, you do have a package where you work with their stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
So
it's nice to have a more experienced mentor sometimes, because my experience in my own business, like we got big, but I didn't have the money to hire a finance manager. No. I just had the inputter and then the tax person and everything. But then it would have been nice to have a financial mentor that would liaise with me as a partner, but then also would teach and educate and guide and direct my junior team.
And I actually even do. I'm sort of a middle person as well for a couple of my bigger clients, where I actually do all their bookkeeping, but I don't actually prepare their financial statements, because when I first started out, they already had accountants that did that for them, but they had no clue, and they've grown and grown and grown and become very large. So I'm a person in between as well. I work for them, and I sit with them in on meetings, or have done in the past, when the accountant comes in to explain the numbers, the year-end figures. And I can look at my client and know that they're glazing over and they don't really understand what's going on, and I can explain it because I work with them on a monthly and weekly basis. Where sometimes when you've got accountants that just prepare the financial statements, they don't really know the business. And so I can do that as well. So
exactly.
And I enjoy that as well.
Where do we start if we wanted to contact you and everything? Where do you exist?
So I've got a new website.
I know.
Really exciting.
God, she's been on and on for weeks about that.
So that's genbookkeeping.co.uk. So
Genbookkeeping.
Yes.
.co.uk.
Yes.
Good.
So and then I have got an Instagram account. Everyone keeps saying that you must be on social media, so I've actually got that. So that's just Jen Wilson Bookkeeping. The reason I had bookkeeping is because that's what I started out as.
Is bookkeeping with 1 K or 2 Ks?
People spell it both ways. I spell it with 2 Ks.
Okay, great.
So that, to find me. And then I have got a new free Facebook group that people can apply to go to. And that's Jenny's Fearless Finance Group. And basically people can go and ask questions.
I love that.
Generalised questions, not specific questions, because obviously you don't want me discussing in front of the other members of the group your finances.
Oh, that could actually be an interesting post.
Yes.
Really? Tell me more.
Yeah. So it's just more general, like, should I be limited? Should I be self-employed? What's the difference? That kind of thing, which a lot of people don't understand the implications of going from self-employed to limited. That's a big thing.
I have to say, we met a couple of months ago, right, in a business networking group, the Business Women in Bath. And one thing I have to say about Jen is that she is so heartfelt, and she does give service from the heart. And it is a difference. It is a huge difference, because accountancy could be quite cold. Yeah. And you're right. Sometimes if some people don't understand the financial jargons, they feel intimidated talking to a smart accountant just for fear of looking stupid, basically. Yeah. So I love all your branding around fearless. I love all your heartfelt thing. And I think any of the listeners who are interested to get things organized and get things more well managed, they should contact you, because you're not intimidating at all. You're not intimidating at all.
I mean, one of the big things I say is that to ask questions, and no questions silly, because everybody's thinking that. Or I mean, like,
You're just the one that vocalized it.
They just don't
You're the
wanna
brave
say
one.
it because they might look silly, and it's like, why should you know about that subject? That's not your profession. Your profession is what you do. So
Yeah. And
ask
things
the
change all the
questions.
time. I mean, I get emails from HMRC about this and that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know that, I mean, my business is just a self-employed thing, but if I had the businesses I had in Indonesia, bring it here with staff and everything, my goodness, how can I keep track and
Yeah.
then serve my customers as well? So we've
Yeah.
got to just kind of distribute our tasks, and you handle the accountancy part very well. So that's
Thank
great.
you. Yeah,
Well-
and technology's moved so fast as well. I mean, making tax digital for VAT is all in place.
Yeah.
And for self-employed, that's coming in April 23. So everything's changing really quickly. And
Exactly.
if you don't keep up.
Well, it's been lovely having you.
Thank you.
And I hope you've enjoyed the show as well. We look forward to hearing more of your up and about and hearing you serve the community a lot more. I hope you get on with your workshops and stuff, because I think you've got a real knack for teaching. Real patience as well, I have to say. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, Sue.